Hello, my name is Wendy Wesley. I'm a registered and licensed dietitian nutritionist, and I'm here in my kitchen in St. Pete. The storm is gone, the sun is out, and I'm happy to be here with the Swift Mud crew. You guys are always the most attentive. I do a lot of these, and you guys are always the most attentive, and you have the best feedback, and my definitely my favorite audience. So thank you for being cool like that all the time. The kids are going back to school. I think Pinellas County Schools is next week. Maybe Hillsborough is coming up pretty soon. And life is about to get busy. And so a lot of the times I call this back to school. I used to call this back to school, but then I heard something on the internet that I liked much better. It's called back to busy. So even if you don't have kids that you're running around to school and other things, the commute is about to get a bit longer because the traffic is going to get a bit worse, and it seems that the summer is we're kind of in the doldrums here in the summer. Things are a bit slower, and then come August and September things pick up. And so people are always asking me about ways to nourish yourself and your family without when time gets busier, because you don't want to throw a lot of good habits out of the window because you're strapped for time. So people are always saying, how do I eat my good nutrient-dense foods if I'm on the go and my family is on the go and time is pressure. And so I've got some great snack ideas and a good recipe. The recipe is called No Bake Energy Bites, which mix up nice and are a good substitution for protein bars and granola bars and other bars that can contain a lot of additives, emulsifiers, and a lot of added sugar. So this is an all-natural recipe. It comes together real quick, and these things, I love them because they stick to your ribs. They stay with you for a long time, and they taste great. So I also have come to you today with a lot of snack ideas, and if people want me to give them permission to do this, I love to do this. Permission to put together a couple of your favorite snacks and call it lunch or dinner. So getting away from the idea that lunch or dinner has to be a protein, which it can be meat or plants, a starch like a potato or rice or a pasta, and then a vegetable, because putting that all together, even if it's crock pot or even if it's casserole style, can still feel kind of daunting because you're pulling together a lot of ingredients and making a dish. And so I like to offer people permission, because people look to me for that kind of thing sometimes, to put together a couple of nutrient-dense snacks and call it a meal. And so I'm going to put together some, give you ideas for nutrient-dense snacks that if you put them together, they can become a meal. My definition of a meal is it meets the need for hunger, it provides some nutrition, of course, and it provides joy and pleasure. And if the combination of 2 or 3 of your favorite snacks does that, and these they will knock hunger out because they're going to contain protein and fiber. They will provide nutrition because they're going to contain minerals and vitamins and all the other good things that we need. And if they are your favorites, then they provide joy and pleasure. And so it meets that 3-pronged criteria for what is a meal. And they involve no cooking. They just involve kind of being a little organized, going to the store, buying some of your favorite things, keeping them in the pantry or in the refrigerator, and just saying, you know what, I'm not going to cook dinner tonight. I'm just going to have some snacks, and I'm just going to call it a day, and I'm going to feel good about it and not like I should. We're getting rid of the shoulds, and we are incorporating the real world, which is what can I do with a limited energy and limited time after I've worked all day, commuted possibly, or even if you're working from home. Maybe you're ready to just kind of clock out and not do more work, which means going into the kitchen. I work with a lot of people who have kids that have sports and music or theater or after school activities or tutoring or all kinds of things. And a lot of the parents say, I need some snacks on the go. I'm also going to talk about really, really good snacks on the go. But first I'm going to work on my no bake energy bites, and I'm going to get those put together, and then I'm going to assemble some snacks, and I will try and keep my eye on the chat. It's really kind of blurry from where I am, so I'm going to try and keep an eye on the chat. If you have any questions, please feel free to take yourself off mute and ask it. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, I get it. You can just kind of put it in the chat. And this is not just for a question. This is if you have a suggestion. Because every time I do one of these, I learn something new from the people, from you guys on the meeting. So let me start with my no bake energy bites. Starts with a bowl. The main ingredient of my no bake energy bite is the oat. And so this is just a big old tub of Publix or any kind of store brand oat. This is one of those things, oats, I've found that you don't have to buy the national brand. I know we're all kind of struggling and probably strapped when it comes to the grocery store. So there are some foods that are absolutely 100% acceptable as their store brand counterpart, and they will save you some money. And one of them is oats. Another one is beans. Another one is rice, or other grains like quinoa. Most grocery stores will have a store brand. There is no reason to buy the national brand and spend more money for these things that are essentially single ingredient foods. This oat is the same as a Quaker oat. In fact, I would bet they came from the same factory or a very, very similar factory. I use a old-fashioned oat. Okay, so this would be an oat that would take longer to cook. I don't use an instant oat, although if you have instant oats, you can make them with this recipe. No big deal. But I like to use the old-fashioned oats in this recipe because, for two reasons. One, it makes the balls or the bites a bit chewier. And also, there is more fiber in an old-fashioned oat than in an instant oat. It's because instant oats have been parboiled in the factory, and some of that fiber was left over at the factory in the water that it was cooked in or steamed in, okay? So these will be a higher fiber oat and a bit chewier. Now, if you're going to make oatmeal out of these, you totally can, but the cook time is going to be a bit longer. I do like instant oats. If you're an oatmeal eater in the morning and you're just fast on the go, that's fine. Just try and stay away from those packets of oats that are like maple brown sugar flavor, other kinds of flavors. So wherever you see that flavor, you're going to see two things: lots of added sugar and added sodium. So I like for my clients and my people who are listening and interested in nutrition to add their own sweeteners and add their own sodium. The idea being that you will be much more judicious, less heavy-handed when it is your own hand pouring on the honey or the white table sugar or the brown sugar. So, and then incidentally, I'd like to mention that white sugar and brown sugar are essentially the same. It's just brown sugar has been burnt. One is not better than the other. Nutrition-wise and calorie-wise and carbohydrate-wise, they are the same. And then honey, a lot of people are like, isn't honey better? It's not better, it's just different. And it all depends on what you like. Some people just like white table sugar. It's what they have. It's convenient, it's familiar, it's fine. Brown sugar, some people like that. It has a bit of an earthier kind of a flavor. Some people like that. Some people love their honey. But I just don't want you to think that honey is better than sugar, is better than brown sugar, whatever. They really, at the end of the day, all the same. When they hit your belly, they do the exact same thing. They turn into glucose, which our cells need to function. So the idea being that when the factory puts the sugar in, they're going to put a lot of sugar in because they are making it sweet for their customer base. And they do tons and tons of market research to decide where do Americans like their oatmeal. And Americans, for the most part, really, really like food that's very, very sweet. And so that oatmeal can be very, very, very high in added sugar. It doesn't mean that that is where you like it to be. So I always say add a little bit of sugar, add a little bit of honey to your oatmeal, or to your cream of wheat, or whatever kind of cereal you're having, or if it's cold cereal, you're adding a little sugar to it, and then taste it. And then see, okay, do I like this or do I need a little bit more? And then that way the control of the sugar is in your hands. Same for salt. Same thing for salt. Factories will be incredibly heavy-handed with sodium, but when it's your hand, you're going to be much more careful. Okay, so let me get going. The prime ingredient, the main ingredient of this recipe is the oat. And it calls for 1.25 cups. So I'm just going to scoop. This is a 1 cup measure right here. I'm going to scoop 1 cup into the bowl and then 1/4. And I'm just going to, because I don't want to have to do a lot of dishes. You know me, I'm always trying to use 1 scoop for everything, and that's about 1/4 cup. So that's 1 1/4 cups of oats. Okay, we'll set that aside. And then again, here I go using the same measuring thing because I don't like to do dishes because dishes require time and nobody has lots of time. I'm just getting a spoon for my peanut butter. So we're going to do a 1/2 cup of peanut butter. Now this is regular, again, store brand peanut butter. It does have added sugar and it does have emulsifiers. And emulsifiers are things that bring fats and liquids together. And that's why this particular peanut butter will not separate because it does contain an emulsifier. If you want a natural peanut butter with no sugar added, that's a great way to reduce the amount of sugar that goes in this recipe. This is what I had on hand. I don't have any natural peanut butter on hand right now, so I said, I'm just going to use this. Again, I'm a proponent of using what you have on hand. I hate to hear that, well, I couldn't cook dinner, I couldn't make it because I didn't have this one ingredient, because it wasn't exactly what the recipe said. So I like for people to kind of improvise as much as they can and move away from this perfectionist mindset where we have to have everything perfect in the recipe. I've worked with so many people that said, I was going to make this, but I didn't have I had black pepper, I didn't have white pepper, so I did Uber Eats. I'm like, you could have just used black pepper. So it's just learning what is an acceptable substitution and then just kind of giving yourself a break and kind of, like I said, getting away from that perfectionist mindset that we have to have perfection in our meals or in our recipes or in our kitchens. Because your cooking is good enough. You're good enough in your kitchen. So here, I've measured 1/2 cup of peanut butter. Let me check chat. Is there anything? No, I don't see anything. Good. Okay, so I'm going to add this 1/2 cup of peanut butter to my oats. Okay, and then with the exact same, and you notice I did dry first because when I'm using the same measuring cup, I'm going to do the dry stuff first and the wet stuff last, right? Okay. Okay. And then, so that's my peanut butter, and then I'm going to do 1/2 cup of honey. This is just some Golden Blossom honey. No big whoops. Store brand is fine. I bought this one because it was on sale. So sometimes national brands will run sales, but typically store brands are cheaper, and this is 1/2 cup of honey. Okay, all right, measure that in. Okay, scoop that out. This is a fantastic recipe for kids. If you want to get your kids involved in the kitchen, I'm a big proponent of letting kids get involved with the food that they eat. Science shows us that kids are more likely to eat the foods that they had a hand in making. I like to buy these plastic safety knives. I got a set on Amazon for, I don't know, $12, and it's this set of plastic chef's knives. Nobody's going to hurt themselves with this set of chef's knives. Or another thing I like to buy, or not buy, but at Publix or most grocery stores, when you buy a pie, you'll get a pie cutter. And that's just a white plastic with the big serrated edges. Kids can do a lot of work in your kitchen with one of those pie cutters. Nobody's going to hurt themselves, and they may feel like big boys and big girls because you gave them like a big utensil with a big handle and big teeth. It's all in how you sell it, right? So the kids won't hurt themselves, and they can get involved with that. You can have them cut maybe some soft bread. You could even get an apple going for them and then give them a hunk of apple and tell them that they are supposed to cut this hunk of apple in half. and they can get going with the sawing motion and feel like they're contributing. So in here I have the peanut butter, the honey, and the oats. And this is where you really get kids involved, is you have them customize their energy bites, and you say, okay, what do you want what do you want in your energy bites? And when you give them this kind of agency, when you give them this power to make decisions about what goes in their food, again, they feel confident in the kitchen, they feel listened to, and they also will eat what they had a hand in making, and also what they had a hand in creating, because they chose the add-ins. The add-ins of this recipe are a lot of different things, and that's why I love it, because it's very, very versatile. I'm going to put sunflower seeds. These are just some sunflower seeds from Trader Joe's. I find that Trader Joe's has, if you have one near you, if not, no big deal, but I find that they have a nice variety of somewhat affordable dried nuts and dried seeds that I just absolutely love. So I'm going to add, once I get this mixed up, I'm going to add some sunflower seeds. Now these sunflower seeds have quite a bit of salt, so I'm not going to add any salt to this recipe, because salt comes to me from my peanut butter, and salt will come to this recipe from the sunflower seeds. The other thing I'm going to add, which is one of my all-time favorite things, and these are called fire roasted pumpkin seeds. Again, these have salt, so this recipe is going to be plenty salty. These green pumpkin seeds. These are from Winn-Dixie. It's a SE Grocers. And these were not terribly expensive. I think the whole, this whole bucket was, I don't know, $3.50. So in these seeds, and so when people talk about plant-based eating, I think in their minds, they automatically go to lettuce. I'm going to eat plants. I'm going to eat lettuce, and I'm going to eat tomatoes, and I'm going to eat bananas. And sometimes I think people forget that the plant kingdom is very, very big. And the plant kingdom includes seeds. These are 100% plants. They have lots of fantastic plant fat in them, healthy heart, healthy fats. They have nice protein. Seeds contain lots of protein. Most people are just kind of focused on protein in meats, but there's lots of protein found in seeds, both these sunflower seeds and these pumpkin seeds, and they contain lots of fiber. So this is a very, very high fiber recipe, because the oats have fiber, and then all of my add-ins will contain some fiber. So pumpkin seeds. Other things you can add: walnuts, slivered almonds are nice because they're not like big chunks. They're smaller and they're slivered, so they're easier to chew. Let's see, peanuts, walnuts, slivered almonds. You throw out any kind of nut you can think of, and these go great in here. If the nut is big, like a Brazil nut or another kind of nut, you may want to chop it or buy it chopped. So when we make the balls, we don't have this kind of big, gnarly Brazil nut sticking out of one end. And then the other thing I put in here are raisins. Absolutely, I love raisins. A lot of people like to put cranberries in here, and that's okay, but I always recommend that people just pay attention to cranberries, because they are so tart. The makers of cranberries put a lot of sugar. They dust these cranberries with lots and lots and lots of sugar. I've seen some cranberries or craisins with as much sugar in them as a can of Coca-Cola. I know that is amazing to me, but cranberries are so tart that the food manufacturers know that we just won't eat them. They're just too tart, and that's why they add a lot of sugar. Raisins do contain a lot of sugar. That is natural sugar, and that sugar is all bound up with the fiber. Cardiologist said one thing to me, best thing I ever heard, that all of your sugar should be bound up in fiber. And that is basically a raisin. They do contain sugar, but they don't contain added sugar. If you look at the label, and I have them right here, again, store brand raisins are much cheaper than national brand raisins. And so I always buy store brand, whether it's Winn-Dixie, Trader Joe's, or Publix, the three places I shop. Aldi also has great raisins too, much cheaper, and so contains 0 grams of added sugars, and the fiber is 1 gram for a quarter cup. I thought it actually would be higher than that, but it's okay. It still contributes to the fiber load of this fantastic snack. So let me mix this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to incorporate the oats and my wet ingredients. And my wet ingredients, to remind you, are the peanut butter and the honey. Just get these going. And so as I mix in the honey and the peanut butter, the oats will start to absorb the water in the honey and the peanut butter, and they will start to soften. And the longer they sit, the softer they will get. Okay, so I have mixed that up. Again, this is a great job for a kid. You give a kid a big spoon, and they could sit on the floor, or they could sit at a table and mix this up. And again, feeling like they are contributing. This is a fun one for kids. I love doing this with I've done this with a lot of elementary schools. So here we go. So that's all incorporated in there. And I'm going to add my sunflower seeds. And I know I'm just kind of guesstimating here. You probably want to know how much. This is probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 tablespoons of the sunflower seeds. Again, with the pumpkin seeds, same. Maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons. They're a little bigger. So you will goes shorter distance, because they are going to take up more space. And then my raisins, kind of getting them all unstuck and throwing in my raisins. People always ask me, hey, what about M&Ms? If you want to throw in some little mini chocolate chips or mini M&Ms, you can. I don't really recommend that, because again, we're trying to get away from candy, and we're trying to get away from added sugar, and to kind of train our tongues to accept natural sugars. So, but if chocolate chips and M&Ms help sell it, then hey, let's go. This change is done in increments. It's not done with the sledgehammer. It is done with the tiny little the little surgeon's tools, the little changes over time. Because if you make big changes too fast, your family or your kids will revolt. They'll say, I don't understand this food. I don't like this food. The changes are too fast. Mom and dad, slow your roll a little bit. Give me a chance to catch up, kind of thing. I wish I did have some peanuts. I don't have any in the house. Again, this is one of those recipes. If you have the staples, and the staples are the oats and the peanut butter and the honey, and then of course, having some nuts and seeds in the house, which I consider a staple. I always have some kind of a nut or seed in the house, and I'll show you why later on when I do the DIY trail mix, which is just a game changer for a lot of my clients who are interested in losing weight or are managing diabetes, because this becomes a great go-to snack that doesn't have a big impact on their blood glucose, and it keeps them full for a long time. And so when my clients and patients start to eat nuts and seeds and dried fruit instead of granola bars, protein bars, and other kinds of snacky things that contain added sugar, they report that they're not going around hungry all day, because when you take that big hit of added sugar that you get like in a Nature Valley granola bar or something else, your blood glucose spikes and then drops really fast, and then that's where that intense hunger comes from, and you're back in the kitchen, you're back in the break room saying, I need another hit of sugar. And so I'm always trying to help my clients and my patients consume carbohydrates that are not added sugar, but are sugars that are found in the food. And that is to control blood glucose and to control hunger. And then when we can control hunger, we can lose weight, because the overall consumption of calories over the course of the day is lower. And then you've heard me rail about ultra-processed food. Ultra-processed food is that kind of food that you don't even have to chew. It just kind of melts on your mouth. I heard something the other day which is very effective but kind of disgusting. Ultra-processed food is like pre-digested food. I know that sounds disgusting, but at the factory, so much processing has been put into the manufacture of the food that by the time this ultra-processed food gets to you, it has been machined to death. And therefore, these machines, the teeth, the jaw muscles, the esophagus, the stomach, small intestine and large intestine don't have a lot of work to do, because the factory's done all that work for them. And that's where that idea of pre-digested food comes from. How do we eat foods that are not pre-digested? Single ingredient foods. Oats, single ingredient. Raisins, nuts, honey. There is some processing with the peanut butter, of course, and if you want, like I say, if you want to reduce the sugar in this, great. Let's use a natural peanut butter that has no added sugar. So I'm going to do a test ball now that I've mixed everything in. Oh, another thing you can add in here that's very, very good is chia seeds or flax seeds. That's another nice thing you can add. Oh, and I forgot. I like to add a little bit of nutmeg and cinnamon. And this just kind of makes them feel a bit more kind of, I don't know, desserty, especially as we get into fall. These are some of our fall spices and flavors. So mix that up, incorporating the nutmeg and the cinnamon, which I love. I love nutmeg and cinnamon. I could also add a little powdered ginger if I wanted to. Okay, so I'm going to do a test ball and see if it holds together. Now, if it doesn't hold together, I think I will add some more oats, or if it doesn't hold together, you can just pop it in the refrigerator, let it chill, and then they will form much, much easier. Now, they're kind of kind of not coming together. It's so hot and humid today. And I'm running my air, but you know how it goes. It's just not keeping up. So I think I may add just a little bit more oats to this, just another little handful of oats, and set it aside or put it in the fridge. I might pop it in the fridge. And see these oats, you see the super white oats here, they're going to absorb all that liquid that's in the honey and the peanut butter, and they will become incorporated. And then we will have a better no-bake energy bites. I'm going to make these over in Tampa at an outdoor fair later this month, and I'm like, wow, I don't know how these are going to stick together out in that heat. Well, we will see. That may just kind of be a disaster. We'll see about that. Okay, I'm gonna put these in the fridge real fast and then get going on my other snacks because yeah, we're getting up on time. I'll just pop these in the fridge and then I'll form them later. So a lot of people are surprised to hear that I am an advocate of cheese. People are like, really, you're a dietitian and you are recommending that I have cheese as a snack and I can let my kids have some cheese as a snack. And I said, yeah, actually, when it comes to processing block cheese, this is some white cheddar and this is some feta. They're technically processed foods, but they are not ultra processed foods. And they are also very, very high in protein. And again, when these foods are paired with something that is very, very high fiber, like this apple, so you could have apple and cheddar cheese. You could have Triscuits and cheese. And one of my favorite things to have is these dates and cheese, especially feta cheese. So I like to buy feta cheese in bulk, either from Costco, I think this is Costco feta cheese, or I have a farmer's market right up the street there. It's owned by an Albanian family and they will import feta cheese and they get $7 a pound. So I don't know where else in the world you're gonna find feta cheese at $7 a pound. So, but I buy it in such large quantities that I can't eat it all at one time before it goes bad, so I freeze it. So just about 30 minutes ago, I pulled this block of feta cheese out of my freezer. Not all cheeses freeze well. Some cheeses will get, like I think cheddar cheese, if you freeze it, it'll turn into kind of a crumbled mess when it thaws. But feta cheese, surprisingly, will freeze and thaw perfectly. So this is a date. And these are very, very sweet. There's a lot of sugar in these dates. Again, no added sugar. It's all natural sugar, and it's all bound up in fiber. Just like that cardiologist said, all of your sugar should be bound in fiber. This is a single ingredient food. It is a date. This is a single ingredient food. It is an apple. And so this does have a pit. I find that dates that you buy with the pit in, they just taste so much better. They retain their freshness longer, and they retain their moisture longer because the pit is inside. Again, this could be a fun job for kids. You could give them that big pie cutter from Publix or one of those safety plastic knives and have them cut the date and pull the pit out. I mean, kids like gross, sticky stuff. Your kids may actually enjoy the process of pitting dates. So I'm just going to give it a quick little score. And a score is just a light cut that does not go all the way through. And then kind of, I pop it open. And then inside is this pit. And the pit, of course, just goes in the trash can. And what I have here is it's almost like a cracker, the way it's shaped, and it will accept this hunk of feta cheese. This is one of my all-time favorite snacks. Our fiber is very, very high. We're getting good protein, and we're getting some fat from the cheese, and we're getting some carbohydrates also from the cheese and from the date. And that's it. This could be one of your snacks. This could be a component of dinner. You probably think I'm crazy, but when you pair together a collection of your favorite snacks, and this is one of mine, you can have feta and dates. You could have some crackers and hummus, or carrots and hummus. You can. I'll demonstrate one of my whole wheat tortilla peanut butter roll-ups with some jelly. I know this sounds crazy. They call it girl dinner. Recently, the New York Times came out with an article that kind of gave this kind of thing a definition, which is just a collection of your favorite snacks, and you call it dinner. So now kids may like this. They may not. They may kind of reject the feta cheese. The taste may be a little too strong for them. In which case, you can pair this date with some cheddar cheese. Or some Swiss cheese, because Swiss cheese is a bit milder, and so it's a kind of a nice combination of sweet and creamy. And again, we have all three of our macros. We have fat, protein, carbohydrates, and we have good fiber in a little snack like this. Okay. I'm sure you have considered apples and peanut butter. When I was saying earlier, you could get the apple going to this point, and then you could give your kid this hunk of apple with like a big Publix pie cutter and say, cut that in half, and put some peanut butter on it and eat it. You give them like the spoon to do the peanut butter. Again, getting them involved in the kitchen. This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about. You're also creating some self-sufficient eaters down the road, so they're not always looking to mom or dad to put together the snack. And this builds confidence in the kitchen, and it may also spark some creativity or some invention in your kids. Hey, Mom, can I try an apple with hummus? Sure, go ahead. I don't like that. But you give kids agency to do things in the kitchen on their own instead of just always putting it out in front of them. So apple peanut butter, another fantastic snack. New to the stores, I'm a big fan of these. These are a Publix dip chip. Okay, Publix dip chip. So Publix. And these were BOGO, and so I bought 2 bags of them. They've taken these crinkle cut raw carrots, and they have cut them thin and long so that they can be a substitution for a cracker or a chip. This is great with guacamole, or this is great with hummus. And you don't have to have these every time. Maybe you have them every other time, maybe on, so you're not, I hate when people say, oh, I guess for the rest of my life, I'm just going to eat carrots and I'll never have a chip again. I'll never have a cracker again. I hate that kind of all or nothing approach to food. Maybe you have these and crackers. So you have, instead of having a big serving of crackers, you have a smaller serving of crackers and a serving of carrot dip chips. This can also, you could also do celery. You could also cut bell peppers. Bell peppers turn into nice big dippers, nice big boats that you can dip into hummus or guacamole or salsa, something like that. I was giving a grocery store tour to a client, and we were talking about dips, and I said, I'd like you to try and stay away from the creamy dips, like the spinach dips and the seafood dips and the crab dips. And if you would instead look to the salsas, the guacamoles, and the hummuses as your dips instead of the cream-based dips. And she said, yeah, no, I can do that because I like all three of those things. I love salsa, I love hummus, and I love guacamole. And in the produce department, they are all portioned out. And some I've noticed to-go cups of guacamole and to-go cups of hummus and salsa for the kids. So if you're on your way to a sporting event or some kind of a practice or something, you can always give your kids some chips and some guacamole or some chips and salsa. Hopefully they don't make too much of a crazy mess in the back of your minivan, but this is instead of like packaged things. Popcorn is always a great thing to give to kids. I know you're like, popcorn, really? There's a lot of fiber and a lot of nutrition in popcorn, and it's minimally processed as long as you're not getting the kind that turns your fingers orange. It's an incredible snack either to have at home or on the go, popcorn. And then, of course, those mini dippers that I mentioned. What else? I want to talk about the DIY trail mix. This is something that I have in my house always. I always have some version of the DIY trail mix happening in my pantry, and I keep it in a Tupperware. This is technically it's a Rubbermaid, and but you know what I mean. Even just any kind of container that can be kind of airtight because you don't want your nuts and seeds to go rancid on you. So in here, I will buy bulk nuts, seeds, and dried fruit at the grocery store, like these pumpkin seeds, and I will put some pumpkin seeds because I need to make another mix because I guess you can see I'm down on the mix. I don't have any peanuts. If I did, I would throw peanuts in. These are sunflower seeds. I'm going to throw in some sunflower seeds, and I'm going to throw in some of my raisins. This is exactly what I put in my No Bake Energy Bites. I have some walnuts in the fridge that I could pull out. I will warn you though, one time I put chocolate chips. I was doing some holiday baking and I put some chocolate chips in my DIY trail mix. And I couldn't stop eating it. And I realized it was because of the added sugar in the chocolate chips. It really wasn't taking care of my hunger. Now, when I eat this mixture, this takes care of my hunger. It's kind of my 3 o'clock thing. I need a little something crunchy, a little salty. That's just kind of me. 3 o'clock, I need something crunchy and salty. I used to eat things like chips and crackers and other kinds of junky things at 3 o'clock. And then when I switched to the DIY trail mix, I found that it wasn't struggling with my weight as much when I'm eating this. Believe it or not, people are kind of like, aren't nuts and seeds, don't they have a lot of calories? Absolutely, yes they do. But the other thing they contain is a lot of deep nutrition. And when you consume foods that are real, that are unprocessed, that have real nutrition, your hunger is taken care of, and this snack stays with you for a very, very long time. I have put it all in and I shake it up, and this just kind of stays in my cupboard. It is there in my cupboard all the time. If I'm on the go, I will pour some of this in a Ziploc baggie and it travels well in my purse or my briefcase. I can leave it in the car. On a hot day, 180 degrees, it gets inside my car just fine, no problem. So this is called the DIY trail mix. Every time I go to the store, if like the store has a BOGO on sale of a nut or a seed, I'll buy it and I'll add it to it. And so this kind of, and then the nice thing is the salt in the nuts and the seeds will kind of coat the raisins, makes the raisins nice, and that it's that sweet salty mix that we are all kind of looking for, that sweet salty mix. So the raisins become sweet and salty because the nuts kind of coated them with a little bit of salt. Tastes really good. Any questions in chat? No, I don't see any. Okay, very good. I don't see any questions. Okay, so there's the DIY trail mix, one of my all-time favorite things. For my son, I found these Carb Balance whole wheat tortillas. The net carbohydrates in them is just 1 because they contain so much fiber. And this is something that I will smear peanut butter and jelly on this and give this to him. And I've been mixing this, or having him, actually he makes it now for himself. But back when he was younger, these are something I would do for him. I would smear the peanut butter and jelly, roll it up, and give it to him. Again, because the fiber on these is so high, they would stay with him for a long time, and he would be happy with it because it was a little sweet treat for him. Not a lot of added sugar, just of course there's sugar in the jelly, but good protein in the peanut butter and good fiber in the tortillas. Back to crackers. I am a fan of Wheat Thins. This is the store brand of, Triscuits. This is the store brand of Triscuits. The serving size is 6 of these babies. And if you've ever, you probably haven't, but I have. If you put a Wheat Thin in water, it just kind of swells up. The Wheat Thins just absorb all this water. Well, that's what's happening in your stomach. When you get these Wheat Thins in your stomach, they swell up and they help you stay full. The fiber in them is very, very good, and there's just a few ingredients. So I am a fan of these Triscuits for all my snacking, for my cheese, for my fruit, for all my kinds of snacking. Okay, I think I've gone through all of the snacks. The one snack I wanted to mention is I like to go again at the store in the deli department and buy either Publix chicken salad or Publix tuna salad. And I like to bring it home and bulk it with like shaved carrots, with onions, especially the chicken salad. I can bulk with carrots, I can bulk it with onions, I can cut some grapes, and I could cut some apples and put some walnuts in. And I can take this much chicken salad, which has a lot of mayonnaise, and turn it into this much chicken salad. I can almost triple it in size. And then I eat that with a Triscuit. And again, that is a snack that's going to stay with me for a very, very long time because of the protein in the chicken and then also the fiber and all those things that I added in. So I'm going to pull these No Bake Energy Bites out of my refrigerator, and I'm going to ball them up. Hopefully they are going to cooperate because they've been sitting in the fridge for a little bit of time, and I added a little bit more of the oats. Oh yeah, these are coming together much better. So I'm gonna mix up, I'm gonna make them I like to make them ping pong ball size. Golf ball size, is that a golf ball? That might be a golf ball. I think golf ball size just gets to be a little bit too big. See these, look how nice that came together. That came together nice. Very, very easy, no sticky on my hands. And then what I'll do is I'll mix these up. Again, get kids involved, get them rolling these things. This is a fun activity for the kids. And roll them up, and I'll put them directly into a Tupperware, and right into the refrigerator they go. They just kind of set up better in the refrigerator. These are a great thing to put in a kid's lunch. They love them. They are sweet, they are kind of crunchy, and they look kind of funky. And a word on protein. A lot of people are eating a lot of protein bars because they have heard in the media that protein is something that they need. And I'm always trying to tell people that you are doing just fine on protein. We're all, in this nation, doing just fine on protein. But food manufacturers have learned that if they can pack their foods with protein powders, they can sell more of their food to us. And I'm in the chat. Can we have the recipe? Totally. I am going to share this recipe with Megan, and she will share it with you. So we're all doing just fine on protein. Where we are all deficient is in fiber. None of us, very, very few of us, are doing well when it comes to fiber. And we all need to find ways to get more fiber into our into our diets. And all of these snacks that I presented today have lots and lots of fiber, in addition to the protein that is naturally found in the food. Food manufacturers have created this. What companies do is they create a fear, and then their product comes in to quell the fear, if you will. So food manufacturers have created this false idea that we are protein deficient, and they have packed their products with protein so that they're preying on that fear that none of us are getting enough protein. I'm in a lot of chats online, people talking about nutrition, and Americans are still terrified that they're not getting enough protein. We're all doing quite well when it comes to protein. If you want to figure out how much protein you need in a day, it's a very, very easy little formula. I'm happy to share it with you right now. You take your weight in pounds, and if you have a calculator or your phone handy, take your weight in pounds and divide it by 2.2. Divide it by 2.2. And that will give you the kilograms. And so if you take that number, your weight in kilograms, and if you'll multiply that by 0.8, 0.8, that is about where you need to be on protein in grams per day. So I'll say that one more time. Take your weight in pounds, divide by 2.2, and that gives you kilograms. Multiply that number times 0.8, and that's really where you should be in protein. Taller people, larger people need more protein than smaller people, shorter people, or smaller framed people. It is a formula that is based on the protein needs for the size of your body. And some trainers in gyms, I've overheard them, and anecdotally people have said, well, my trainer at the gym told me that I weigh 195 pounds, so I need 195 grams of protein a day. I'm like, well, good luck getting all that protein in, because that is a full-time job, eating 195 grams of protein per day. One, that trainer is mixing pounds, which is English pounds, with metric, and so we don't mix our measurements, for one. And so the only time we gave protein supplements to people, when I worked at the hospital, I worked at St. Anthony's for 4 years, the only time we offered protein supplements to our patients is when they were severely malnourished, because for whatever reason they were not able to eat for the previous 3 to 6 months. They'd lost a lot of weight, and it could be anything. Cancer, going through chemotherapy, ill-fitting dentures, severe depression. And so then and only then would we recommend protein supplements. And this is for our patients who had very, very, very low body weight and had lost a lot of weight. The other kinds of patients who got protein supplements were our burn patients and our patients who had pressure ulcers or like foot ulcers. And they were trying to heal some very, very, very serious wounds. And those were the only people that really got protein supplements in the hospital. Everybody else, that formula I just gave you is what we would use to calculate the protein needs of the average patient who was not malnourished and did not have some kind of wound or burn, or who had not significantly lost weight or was severely underweight. So what that tells me is that anywhere from 50 to about 80 grams of protein is kind of where most people fall. Anywhere from 50 to 80 grams of protein is where most people fall. And eating just regular food will get you there. Believe it or not, these oats contain protein. Rice contains protein. Wheat contains protein. A lot of foods that we don't consider from the plant kingdom contain lots of protein. Nuts contain lots of protein. Seeds contain lots of protein. Almost every food out there has some amount of protein. Now, animal sources will give you a very, very, very large dose of protein per serving. And I'll answer that question in a sec. The question is, what about athletes? I like for someone to kind of define athlete, because that's a subjective term. It depends on how much you are working out. If you are really, really in the gym pumping a lot of iron, or you're an athlete that's training 4 to 5 times a week, I would definitely recommend that you consume more protein. Some folks are, we call them kind of weekend warriors. They may go to the gym maybe twice a week, and they'll, do a little bit. And they may think, well, I'm going to the gym, I need lots of protein. The other thing is, gyms have realized have learned how they can make a lot of money on people by selling you protein shakes for post-workout. You don't need it. You don't need a protein shake for post-workout. If anything, you have completely negated all of the work you did at the gym in that one protein shake. So I'm sure many of you have learned by now that going to the gym or exercising, you think, oh, I must be burning a lot of calories. And then when you really realize how few calories you're burning, it's kind of it's sad when you learn how little you burn with a workout. And then you go have a protein shake or some kind of a snack because you reward yourself for the workout. You negate all of those calories that you burned. I would never in a million years tell someone to not work out, because exercise makes everything better. It's the one thing that everybody in medicine agrees on, is that exercise makes everything better. I am of the belief that for weight loss and for diabetes management, we're going to get there with food and not with exercise. For folks with diabetes, I recommend the one thing after every single meal: take a walk, or do some kind of exercise after every single meal. It helps your cells suck up all that glucose, better glucose management, lower A1C. But if you are really interested in weight loss and better managing diabetes, that happens in the kitchen. It does not happen in the gym. So let me look at some questions. Athletes: I train about 10 hours a week on the bike, 2 sessions in the gym, and 15 miles running. Well, sir or ma'am, I think you should have extra protein, without a doubt. That is a very, very intense training regimen. Very, very good for you. That's excellent. You should have extra protein. Maybe you want to take your weight, divide by 2.2, and multiply by 1.1 or 1.2 to get your protein needs. But I've worked with a lot of people that said, yeah, my trainer says I need 200 grams of protein a day. And that is, not only is that very, very difficult to do, it's very expensive. It can be also hard on your kidneys if you do it for a long period of time. Let's see. I sit about 10 hours a day, 2 hours a day on my smartphone, and 15 bowls of popcorn. Oh boy. I applaud your honesty and your humor for that. I'm sure your protein needs are being met easily. Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay, any more questions? Where are we on time? I think we're at time. Yeah, we have 2 minutes left. Any more questions about this wonderful recipe that's great for kids and travels well in your bag or your purse, keeps you full for hours? These are great. You'll have a couple of these, maybe 2 or 3 is the serving size, and you will be good for hours. It's the protein, it's the fiber, it's the nutrition. When we eat foods that are nutrient dense, like nuts and seeds, our body rewards us with satiety. When we give our bodies real food, our body says, thank you. You gave me something to work with, and now I won't nag you with hunger. And that will be my parting statement. Let's eat real food so we have sustained energy and we can age gracefully, avoid cancer, avoid dementia. This happens with real food. Got to get off that unprocessed food. Excuse me, I said unprocessed food. I meant to say ultra processed food. Got to get off that ultra processed food. How long, the question is, how long do they last outside of the fridge? In the cupboard, they will do just fine, probably a good week, if they last that long. In my house, they don't last that long. They are consumed. But I've never had any issues with molding after about a week. But if you are concerned that you won't get through them in an entire week, I would definitely keep them in the refrigerator. They'll probably get maybe 2 or 3 weeks in the refrigerator. And if you, I'm holding my hands like this because they're sticky. I need to wash them. Any more questions? I'm happy to answer them. Happy to answer them. Remember, a meal does not have to be a meat and a starch and a vegetable. Okay, it can be a collection of some nutrient-dense snacks that you just kind of like. If you got a rotisserie chicken, pull some meat off of that rotisserie chicken, have some cheese and crackers, nuts and seeds and fruit, and call it a night. You'll be just fine. And if that's that, I will say goodbye until next time. And y'all have been a great audience, of course, always. And I've really enjoyed talking to you today.